Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky.
Here.
Councilmember Padilla.
Present.
Councilmember McOsker.
Here.
5 members and a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Again, good afternoon and welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting this afternoon. This is our second meeting regarding the tourism worker minimum wage. At our last meeting, we heard from many of you during the public comment. We spoke to Bear Economics, who conducted the analysis of the proposal, and we spoke to our city departments about the provisions of this proposal. Today, we're going to be taking public comment again, and we'll have the economists and the departments available again for follow-up questions. Based on our hearing last week and the conversations I had, my office transmitted a letter to the file with a list of draft recommendations that we're going to be discussing today. These recommendations give workers a much-needed raise in an expeditious manner, while also giving businesses additional time to implement the health care benefit. The health care benefit amount has been adjusted based on new data that was submitted to the file. We also recommended giving a hardship exemption to our small business concessionaires at the airport and again to hotels, so that if a business faces shutting down due to increases, the city can grant a 1-year waiver. We've also asked LAWA to report back on rental subsidies and business assistance programs at the airport for concessionaires. And we're going to be asking for a report back on subcontracting as well as enforcement costs. Again, I look forward to hearing feedback on these recommendations from my colleagues and the public today. With that, we are going to begin with public comment. We'll take the public comment for about an hour or until everyone has an opportunity to speak. And then we will proceed with our panel and questions from the committee members. Members, any comments before we get started?
No.
Okay. Well, can we please provide the directions, instructions for the call for our in-person visitors?
Members of the public wishing to provide public comment shall sign in at the kiosk and step forward when their names or identification as they signed in is provided. Each member, this is a special meeting, so each member will have 1 minute to speak on the agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Andy Yam, Rosa Arias, Andrew J, Rev Yoshi, Ted Zizik.
Please up to the left. You don't have to speak in the order that you were called, but please limit your comments to 1 minute. 1 minute, please.
Dear City Council members, my name is Andrew J. I'm the general manager of the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. Prior to this, I was the general manager at the now closed Ace Hotel in downtown LA. My per room cost there was $124 a night, and my online room revenue was about $100 that I could sell each day. Those two numbers didn't square, so Ace Downtown LA closed for a business model that features a limited service hotel and that skirts the housekeeping ordinance. Over 100 workers lost their job as a result of that. Running a hotel looks easy, but most hotels in Los Angeles are losing money month to month. My hotel lost north of 7 figures last year. Most hotel owners only make money when they sell a hotel. They're not making money on cash flow. As a result of this proposed ordinance, the revenues of the hotel will not match costs. And owners will shutter the hotel, and we won't have jobs, and the Olympics will go up in flames. Thank you for your time, and
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Zizik. I'm here representing the Writers Guild of America in support of our tourism workers. Many of us in the entertainment industry, writers, actors, directors, crew, start in the service sector, and we return to these jobs when times are slow, like right now, to support our families. The truth is, there'd be no Hollywood without hospitality and tourism industry. It's the backbone that supports the creative economy in Los Angeles, and these workers deserve a fair wage that reflects the high cost of living here. I ask you to consider the strongest version of this policy. I know there's been a lot of pushback from the hotel owners, but please remember that 2/3 of the LA hotels are already exempt from this ordinance. These workers are the face of our city, and it's time we treat them with the respect and dignity they deserve. Thank you very much. Please vote yes, and si se puede.
Hi, my name is Andy M., and I'm here representing the Asian Democrats of LA County. ADLAC passed a resolution in support of the Tourism Workers Rising campaign alongside 18 other Democratic clubs, including LACDP and LACYD. We want to make sure that tourism workers are healthy and housed, and we support the amendments that the workers are asking for because it is in our hope that we empower Asian communities, supporting courageous leaders who uplift our priorities and advancing policies that truly work for all of us. Are critical priorities for APIs in LA County. And so the Tourism Workers Rising policy is good for our economy, our communities, and the Democratic clubs are behind you. Please vote yes.
My name is Yoshi, and I live in District 15. I'm the pastor at San Pedro United Methodist Church and a part of CLU. You know why we are here? Because we believe in fairness and decency, and because we believe in each person's God-given right to live a life with dignity. To say that the workers we stand with are essential is an understatement, for it is their hands that produce the very wealth that not all of us can enjoy. So we are not asking for favors, but demanding support for what a worker is already entitled to, a livable wage. Martin King once said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and I also believe the opposite is true, that justice anywhere is a threat to injustice everywhere. Will you stand with justice today? Will you choose the working people instead of profits for the few? It is this simple. You have the chance to choose what kind of leader you want to be. Thank you. Vote yes.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rosa Arias. Necesito traducción, por favor.
Good afternoon, my name is Rosa Arias. I require translation, please.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rosa Arias. Trabajo en Gay Gourmet 31 años. Soy orgullosa del miembro del District 572.
Un segundo, por favor. Yes, I work in Gangermet 31. I've been working there for 31 years, and I am also a proud member of this union.
Nosotros tenemos y merecemos salud médica accesible.
We deserve accessible health care coverage.
Es crucial que se implemente una escalera para los beneficios de salud.
It's crucial to simply just have a ladder to reach the benefits of health care coverage.
Ya que sin esa escalera seguiremos atrapados en una crisis costo de salud.
And without it, we would be trapped in a crisis of getting health care coverage and expensive costs.
System 572 apoya lo correcto. Vota sí a los miembros concejal Price. A las invitaciones Price.
And this union supports this ordinance. Vote yes for Councilmember Price.
Gracias.
Thank you. Yes, we can.
Rev. Matthew Waite, Nick Stewart Block, Michael Shilstone, Josh Lopez Reyes, Ray Patel, Nareesh Bhakta.
Please, let's curb the outbursts or you'll be asked to leave, sir.
My name is Reverend Matthew Waite, and I live and serve in Los Angeles City Council District 5. I'm a pastor at First Lutheran in Palms and part of Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. We are part of a coalition of over 500 organizations, neighborhood councils, political leaders, and small businesses urging this committee to support a strong policy to uplift working families. God desires that all people would have the opportunity to thrive, that these workers would have the opportunity to thrive. That means they have access to food, to keep a house or a roof over their head, and access to medical care. You have the power and responsibility to correct this injustice. Since this policy has been delayed, full-time workers have lost an average of $14,000 since last July, while the industry has saved hundreds of millions. Workers shouldn't have to pay any more for these delays. Please vote yes for the committee chair's amendments. The faith community stands behind you. Raise the wage now. Or in the words of Isaiah, cease to do evil, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression. Thank you.
Please, 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 please.
Good afternoon, Michael Shilstone with Central City Association. As we commented before you last week, we want to reiterate the need to gather key information before making a decision on this item, particularly the potential fiscal impacts to the city. The CAO noted to council yesterday that the city has a revenue problem with less business tax, less sales tax, and international tourism still not fully rebounded. Both the tourism industry and the city's budget are in a precarious position. We should be thinking about ways to support city revenues, but this proposal risks putting businesses out of business at a sensitive time. Again, we ask that you try to achieve balance and do the proper due diligence before taking any drastic steps that could be damaging to the economic and fiscal health of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray Patel with the Northeast Los Angeles Hotel Owners Association. Councilmember Curran Price, Chair, Soto Martinez, Roslowski, Padilla. To start a business for an entrepreneur requires us to learn a business, acquire a loan, and knowledge how to form a corporation or an LLC. Many of your hotels in Los Angeles follow that footprint. And we take a lot of risk. And along the way, we buy materials like bed sheets, real estate, build a building, and then we hire staff. And most of them are minimum wage jobs. And those that want to move up in our hotels will get salary positions, managers. So your memorandum that we received, the motion you're going to vote on, is asking the risk takers to go ahead and pay a higher salary than we can afford in many of these hotels that are 150 and under out there in Los Angeles. So we ask you to study further before you move on this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, please.
Honorable Council, my name is Naresh Bhatta. Why not $100 an hour? Why just 30 or 38? Make it $150 an hour. Make it 200. Do your study, do the mathematics. We have given you enough testimonies where the numbers are not making sense. I am ready to pay $500 an hour. Do you know what is going to impact? Everything will be closed. It's simple math. What you are not understanding is a basic, simple mathematics, what the economics does. And we give you enough testimonies. I'm ready to pay $1,000 an hour. But what is going to happen? They will lose a job. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nick Stewart Block, and I'm a research and policy analyst at Lane. We are once again hearing that the tourism industry cannot possibly sustain living wages under current conditions. But at present, TOT is at record highs, tourism sales from visitors have exceeded pre-pandemic levels, and LA City Tourism Department predicts increased visitor spending in the next fiscal year. We've seen the same issues of alarmism in other sectors. When fast food workers just achieved an increased minimum wage statewide, industry predictions were dire. Astronomical price increases, plummeting employment, and yet two recent studies, one from Harvard and one from UC Berkeley, roundly concluded that employment went up and price increases were modest. The industry is not painting an accurate picture of what this policy will do. We urge you to reject the false choice between a living wage for tourism workers and a thriving tourism economy. We know we can have both.
Ainsley, John Lisi Perez Aviles, Dora Pinto, Derek Valle Obanco, Shatal, Sam Vaca.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Derek Valle Obando, origen de Nicaragua.
Good afternoon. My name is Dori Yanko from Nicaragua.
Y fui contratado por una agencia para trabajar en 2 hoteles de la región.
I was contracted by 2 agencies to work for 2 hotels in the region.
Mi experiencia como trabajador de agencia ha sido terrible.
My experience working for an agency has been terrible.
Acabo de someter una queja de sueldo con la Comisión de Labor.
I just submitted a wage complaint to the Labor Commission
Del estado de California, porque como alego en mi queja,
of the state of California, because as I argue in my complaint,
la agencia solo me pagó $400 en efectivo por más de un mes de trabajo.
because the agency only paid me $400 effectively for a whole month of work.
Aguanté humillaciones por necesidad y me dijeron que si quería seguir trabajando,
I endured humiliation because of need, and they told me that if I wanted to continue working,
tenía que quedarme callado, si no iba a perder mi trabajo.
that I had to stay quiet or I was going to lose my job.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I stand here before you as the owner of a 130-room hotel, which I purchased in 1996 when it was abandoned. I spent 2 years investing my years and my life and my resources to renovating it and turning it into a place where low-income tourists and locals can afford to stay. Today, this proposed raise of minimum wage of $38 threatens to undo everything I have built. If I'm forced to pay that wage, I'll have no choice. You want me to raise my rates? Who's gonna come and stay at my hotel? Tell me. I'm a Motel 6. You think your local constituents are gonna stay at my hotel and pay $200 a night when they can go down the street to the next city over? The city of LA is gonna lose. Not only on TOT, no tourists are gonna come here. You're gonna lose valuable people here. Jobs are gonna be lost. Take this serious, please.
Please. Your shouting is preventing us from hearing enough people, please.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es John Lacey Pérez Avilés.
Good afternoon. My name is John Lacey Pera Velez.
Yo fui contratada por agencia en el 2023 para romper la huelga por un hotel.
I was contracted in 2023 to break the strike.
Soy originaria de Venezuela y cuando escuché que había trabajo, yo estaba viviendo en un albergue en la Quinró.
I was originated in Venezuela, and I was staying at a hostel.
Soy mamá de 4 hijos y necesitaba trabajar.
I am a mother of 4 children, and I needed to work.
Mi experiencia como trabajadora de agencia fue muy rara. No nos dieron entrenamiento y solo nos dijeron que teníamos que trabajar.
My experience with an agency was very strange. I did not receive any training, and they just told me I had to work.
Yo no sabía lo que estaba pasando, no sabía cuándo ni cómo nos iban a pagar.
I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know where or how, when I was going to be paid.
Necesitamos esta ley que incluye el límite a su contratación para esta compañía no tomen ventaja de los trabajadores.
We
de
need this
agencia.
law so that these agencies that are contracting can protect, these laws can protect the workers.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ainsley Herford, and I'm here on behalf of the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking, also known as CAST. For over 25 years, CAST has provided vital services to survivors of labor and sex trafficking here in Los Angeles. We know that poverty is a key risk factor for human trafficking. Workers whose wages don't keep pace with the rising cost of housing are especially vulnerable to victimization. To effectively combat human trafficking, we must prioritize increased resources, access to healthcare, and robust workplace protections, especially through trainings and by limiting subcontracting. These measures are not just necessary, they are critical in preventing exploitation. CAST fully supports the Fair Wage Ordinance and urges the Council to consider its importance in our collective fight against human trafficking. Thank you for your time and attention to this crucial matter.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Samuel Vaca. I'm the resident manager at the Los Angeles Airport Marriott. I live in CD1. I work in CD11. I support fair wages and recognize the challenges faced by our workers. These increases do not come without costs, though. I'm here today to express concerns on behalf of our stakeholders regarding the Bear Report on the proposed wage ordinance. The report fails to provide a thorough economic analysis, omitting critical data like the impact on TOT. TOT funds essential city resources. Additionally, this ordinance would impact businesses in our district and overlooks the fact that many of us have not recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic and face definite uncertainty. We need the council to urge the Economic Community Development and Jobs Committee to reject the CLA's recommendation and seek a more thorough and transparent economic analysis that includes the broader business community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Cara Bartel, Jaime Delgado, Paloma Orta, Sheldon Taylor, Laura Esquivel, Jovan Houston.
Good afternoon. My name is Cara Bartelt. I'm with the Hoxton Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. We are asking the committee to study the impact that any ban on contracting and subcontracting would have on the city's revenue and TOT. We really believe this would be devastating to our city's budget at a time when the LA Times has pointed out the city is broke. Making this decision absent of an understanding of its impact on the TOT and city revenue is irresponsible, as the city is in dire financial needs. The committee must take up and approve any motion calling out for the city to study the budgetary implications of this proposal. Hotels and our vital businesses struggle side by side as we are constantly in a state of reorganization. Development of new hotels has mostly stopped. Existing projects are at risk of halting. And our restaurants and bars, critical pieces for visitors, are barely waged. Hotels are in support of fair wages for all, but we cannot focus on one of the interest group to the detriment of the others. What good is a wage increase if there aren't any jobs? If the industry continues down this path? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Jaime Delgado.
My name is Jaime Delgado.
Tengo 26 años trabajando para SkyChef.
I have been working for 26 years for SkyChef.
El sueldo olímpico me ayudaría muchísimo a sacar a mi familia adelante.
An Olympic salary would help me extremely to take my family forward.
Me ayudaría primeramente con traer un seguro médico de alta calidad a mi familia.
It primarily would help me to get a medical insurance of high quality for my family.
Con un copago justo.
with a copayment, a just copayment.
Mi experiencia personal, tengo 3 hijos,
My personal experience, I have 3 children,
una hija estudiando, haciendo estudios universitarios.
1 daughter studying in the university,
Por eso tuve que elegir
and that's why I had to choose
tener 2 trabajos.
to have 2 jobs.
Con rentas arriba de $2,000,
With rents,
escoger alimentar a mi familia
with rents higher than $2,000 and choosing to feed my family
en otras cosas,
and other things,
porque no se puede con la inflación tan alta,
because you can't with such high inflation,
con los pobres salarios
with poor salaries
como el que estoy obteniendo de SkyChef.
like the one I'm obtaining from SkyChare.
Familias como la mía merecemos
Families
salario
like
justo.
mine, we deserve a just salary.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Laura Esquivel.
My name is Laura Esquivel.
He trabajado en LAX por más de 22 años y estoy aquí para exigir que LAX cambie.
I have been working for LAX for 22 years, and I am here to demand that LAX change.
LAX genera miles de millones de dólares para la economía.
LAX generates millions of dollars for the economy.
LAX recibe más de 70 millones de pasajeros cada año.
LAX receives more than 70 million passengers per year.
Estamos luchando porque es hora de enfrentar la realidad.
We're fighting because it's time to face reality.
LAX también es la sede del racismo ambiental y explotación de trabajadores.
LAX is also the seed of racism, environmental racism, and
Es crucial que se implemente una escalera para los beneficios de salud,
it's crucial to have a ladder for medical benefits,
ya que sin esta escalera seguiremos atrapados en esta crisis de los costos de salud.
because without this ladder, we continue to suffer in this crisis of health.
Yo vengo cada semana sin dormir y sacrifico mi tiempo con mis hijos para pedirles que hagan lo correcto.
I come here every week and I sacrifice time with my children to ask you to do the right thing.
Voten que sí.
Vote yes.
Necesitamos que se apruebe esta moción ahora,
We need you to approve this motion now, today,
porque es hora de aumentar los sueldos de los trabajadores.
because it's time to raise the wages of the workers.
Es hora de asegurar que todos los trabajadores y nuestras familias tengamos un acceso a cuidado de salud.
It's time to ensure that the workers and our families have access to medical care.
Voten ahora que sí. Sí
Vote
se puede.
today, yes, it is possible.
Hi, my name is Jovan Houston. LAX is a hub of environmental racism and worker exploitation. Our work sites have signs warning us of toxic air and the dangers of being exposed to cancer-like materials. I developed COPD living around and working at LAX. COPD is known as a smokeless disease, but I have never smoked. We need a living wage ordinance now because we need to raise the living wage and ensure our workers and our families have equality health care. My family and I see the doctor regularly due to our respiratory illnesses. So we need health care credit that covers the real cost of health care. We need to fix this problem now. We are tired of coming back, and we need to fix this wage credit now and a health care credit so that we don't have to come down here again. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Paloma Horta, and I have worked at Flying Food Group, an airline catering company that prepares meals for international flights, for a year and a half now. My job as a cold food attendant does not pay enough to survive. On top of paying $750 in rent for a room that I have to share with my sister, I send money to Mexico for my aunt to cover her medical expenses after she experienced an accident. Those are costs that were unknown to me at the moment. All the bills, including paying for my sister's tuition, are my responsibility. Having this Olympic wage would mean I had enough for the essential things, like food, gas, and bills. As inflation has gone up, our wages have stayed the same. So vote yes and make a difference for the community who has enabled you guys to become richer every day. So thank you.
I'd like to thank Chairman Price and committee members Padilla, Yaroslawski, Soto Martinez, and McCloskey for hearing me today and for hearing this motion. My name is Sheldon Taylor. I've been working at LEX for over 33 years. I'm urging this committee to modernize the living wage ordinance at LEX and for tourism workers because we need access to affordable, quality health care. My health care is a human right. My ability at 64 to live in a healthy life shouldn't be dictated by my job. I care for my mom as well, who is 81 years old, affectionately known as Grammy. And if the healthcare benefit isn't changed to keep up with the rising costs, healthcare workers, families like mine will continue to struggle. This motion to modernize the living wage ordinance and to improve healthcare credits to keep stepping with correcting system and justice and for working LEX, I urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh Lopez Reyes from EPIC, the Echo Park Immigration Center, and we have membership all over Los Angeles, including Echo Park, South LA, East LA, and Koreatown. We've been standing alongside workers for over a year and waiting for a year and a half for the city to move this policy forward. At EPIC, we envision a world of holistic well-being, equity, and belonging, and we believe that you, the council members, can make this a reality in our community. The tourism workers' rising policy is good for our economy and our communities, and there are over 130 organizations across Los Angeles behind you. So please vote yes, because yes you can, yes we can. Sí se puede.
Samantha Othiano, Sandra Diaz, Armando Munoz, Maria Romero, Jessica Durham, Sandra Perez.
Thank you for having me today. My name is Maria Romero. I'm a single mom. My daughter's 7 years old. And I told my daughter yesterday, daughter, just hold on, because we don't have a car. So once we win this, I'll buy the car and we'll go everywhere, wherever you want. And I can't take her on the bus because our neighborhood is really bad. I live on Vermont and 103rd, and it's too dangerous. I can't walk around with my daughter and me. So I really beg you guys to vote yes. So I'm fighting for my daughter and for our co-workers because we work hard at the airport. The airport no game. The airport is a serious place, and we take it really serious. We respect our place, our work. So we thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Buenas tardes, voy a necesitar traductor, por favor. Mi nombre es Julieta García.
Soy trabajadora de la industria de comida rápida.
Hello, yes, my name is Julieta Garcia. I work in the fast food industry.
La tarde de hoy estamos aquí para pedirles y suplicarles que aprueben la moción
And we are here today to ask you to approve the motion
19-00229-S2
19-00229-S2.
Esta moción nos ayudará a los trabajadores de comida rápida
And this motion would help the fast food workers
a conocer nuestros derechos que por ley tenemos
know our rights given to us by the law,
y los dueños de la industria de comida rápida nos los están negando.
which the owners of the fast food industry are not permitting us to have.
Más del 70% de trabajadores de comida rápida
And more than 70% of fast food workers
desconocen los derechos que por ley nos corresponden
don't know our rights, which are our rights by law.
y esto nos acarrea problemas en nuestras finanzas y en nuestra salud.
And this would cause hardships for our finances and our health.
Al mismo tiempo estamos aquí apoyando a los compañeros de aeropuertos y hoteles
And at the same time, we are here to support our friends and our coworkers in hotels and airports,
ya que cuando nos unimos ganamos.
because when we are united, we win.
Sí se puede.
Yes, we can, si se puede.
Good afternoon. My name is Amalinayi Ramirez, and I work at McDonald's here in LA. Along with expressing solidarity for my fellow LA tourism workers with USWW and Unite Here in winning living wages, I'm here to ask you to put motion 19-0229-S2 on your agenda as well and support fast food workers like me. For too long, my coworkers and I have been uninformed about our rights. At my store, we deal with safety hazards like slippery and dangerous floors and violent customers who constantly threaten us. For too long, I didn't know I could do something to protect myself and my coworkers on the job. Very little of us actually know our basic rights on the job. This is why we need the Fast Food Fair Work Ordinance. We need every fast food worker in our community to get to know your rights training so we can have the power and knowledge to improve our workplaces. We ask that you stand by LA's 50,000 fast food workers, and that's it. Thank you.
Hi, how's it going? Nice to meet you. My name is Armando Munoz. I've been working at the airport for the past 14 years. We're here with a simple message. Tourism, airport, and hotel workers need and deserve a raise of $30 by 2028 and an increase in our healthcare benefit credit and adjust our escalator so we can fix the problem now and not keep on returning to city council so we could keep on fixing it. I, like many of my workers, are in some sort of debt or one minor emergency away from financial distress. We need our wages and healthcare benefits to better reflect the true cost of living here in Los Angeles. It's been 560 days since we updated the living wage was introduced, and we cannot. You know what? Let me rephrase that. We refuse to wait any longer. Vote yes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sandra Diaz. I'm Vice President with SCIU USWW. We represent 50,000 workers along the state of California and nearly 4,000 workers at LAX. We're here to urge you to vote yes, and I'm here to speak about the need for the healthcare credit. In 2009, when we fought and won for the living wage, we thought that the healthcare credit would level off with the cost, but the cost kept on rising and kept on rising, making real health care attainable for families less and less over the years. Over the pandemic, we saw members die, and we saw family members die of our members. And you heard Javon Houston, who said that working 6 months at LAX costs COPD. The very least that we could do, knowing that this industry is causing significant health impact on workers, is to provide adequate health care. So we're here to urge you and to thank you for your leadership to be able to address this issue. And I just want to say poverty hurts. Let's pass this. It's been far too long. Thank you.
Good
Good afternoon. Thank you to Councilmember Price for your leadership on this issue and to the entire committee for all your work and commitment. My name is Jessica Durham, Policy Director with Lane. We form part of the Tourism Workers Rising Coalition, over 500 organizations and small businesses across every single council district. Just today here with us, we have housing orgs, faith leaders, democratic clubs, writers, neighborhood councils, fast food workers, immigrant rights, human rights, and anti-trafficking organizations. And I want to give a big shout out to all the tourism workers here today, many who just came straight from their shift at the airport or hotels. Some work the night shift, which means they sacrifice a night of rest and sleep just to be here to share their testimony. These are the workers that make LAX run. They make LA's tourism industry thrive. They make it profitable. SEIU, USWW, Unite Here Local 11. We've got Teamsters in the house today, Local 572 and 986, who represent hundreds of workers across LA. It's a broad movement. We stand with you. Please vote yes. Thank you.
Kurt Peterson.
Please.
Kurt Peterson, Greg Plummer, Alec Mesropian, Victor Reyes, Jasmine Ramos.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Kurt Peterson. I am co-president of Unite Here Local 11. All right. Thank you, Chairperson Price, and particularly your staff, for leadership in fighting for working people. First, I am elated to report that earlier today, the New York City Council overwhelmingly passed the Safe Hotels Act. This act, among other things, prohibits hotels from subcontracting room attendants. New York's rationale is the same as ours. Hotel room attendants are the front line of security, and subcontracted workers, as you've heard, are the most vulnerable and least likely to call attention to human trafficking or other safety concerns. We trust this body under your leadership will move expeditiously to do the same here as we become the world's epicenter of tourism with the World Cup, the Olympics, and the Paralympics. This policy here today is the first of its kind in the Olympics and the Paralympics. Never before has a city required that the essential workers who make these mega events successful earn a living wage. So let's make history today. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, council members. My name is Victor Reyes here on behalf of VICA, the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. And we just want to say that we thank you guys for again bringing this item to this committee. We know that it has not advanced, and we appreciate some of the proposals for providing exemptions for small business vendors as well as small lodger providers. VICA, again, emphasizes that this BEAR report should not move out of this committee without essential business community input. As Los Angeles prepares to host the World Cup, Super Bowl, and LA 28, we must ensure that policy decisions support our economy's stability. Implementing cost increases without considering existing business pressures will end up harming employment opportunities, reducing our tax base for the city, and destabilizing our economy during these crucial years ahead. We urge you to reopen this report for broader stakeholder engagement and develop solutions that work for businesses and their workers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Alec Mesropian, and I represent the LA County Business Federation. We support fair wages and recognize the challenges faced by workers, but a $30 minimum wage poses significant risks to not only our local economy, but the city's finances as well. Our organization represents over 240 diverse businesses, trade associations, and nonprofits, all of which contribute to the vibrant economic landscape of our city. Yet this ordinance threatens that reality. An ordinance this significant shouldn't be rushed, especially with such little data about the implications. If implemented, there isn't even a built-in assessment for whether the ordinance is working and no exit ramp if it's not. It's no secret that the city's budgetary situation is highly volatile at the moment, and the reduction of TOT revenue resulting from this ordinance would only add to those woes. We urge the committee to consider a more sustainable approach that balances fair compensation with economic viability. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Jasmine Ramos, and I'm the executive director of Gateway LA. While we strongly support fair wages and recognize the challenges faced by workers, I'm here today to express our continued concerns regarding the CLA's recommendations on the proposed wage ordinance. This ordinance would impact 53% of businesses in our district and overlooks the reality that many of the hotels in our district have still not recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic and are facing uncertainty. Increasing the minimum wage is not costless. This is the most significant policy that has been proposed in the city's history. An ordinance of this magnitude should not be rushed, especially with such little data around the implications. The damage that can be done to LA will be irreparable. There are no built-in assessments for whether this ordinance is working and no exit ramp if not. I urge the Economic Community Development and Jobs Committee to take a step back and seek a more thorough economic analysis of the impact the ordinance will have on the Los Angeles economy. Thank you for your consideration.
Sister Estella, Iqbal D, Yoshika Betty, George Unsaid, Marie Tranny, Goat H.
Good afternoon. My name is Joshika Betty. I'm representing the Hilton Universal Hotel. We are the largest hotel in the San Fernando Valley. The BEAR analysis does not consider that the drastic wage increase will halt the hotel construction and negatively impact construction and skilled trade jobs. Hotel construction is overwhelming, but the project labor agrees what happens to those jobs when construction projects don't move forward or get canceled if this wager happens. Furthermore, the analysis does not consider that the permanent jobs that won't materialize if additional hotels are not built. In downtown Los Angeles alone, there are several entitled hotel projects that have not moved to pull permits as Los Angeles seeks to make the cost of doing business more expensive. Los Angeles is under-hoteled even as we prepare to host the global sporting events. Raising labor costs so drastically and unsubstantially will prevent projects of being constructed. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Hi there, my name is George Unsaid. I'm the general manager at the Hotel Pearl in downtown DTLA. I'm here to petition the committee to reject the recommendation and urge the council to gather all parties involved and continue working on compromises that balance the city's goals with the ability of hotels to keep delighting Angelenos and visitors at sustainable levels. My hotel, Hotel Pearl, is a struggling asset. We're dealing with the impact of the previous ordinance that we're subject to, as well as various wage increases. I support the ordinance to try what it tried to achieve in spirit. However, it cost me productivity losses over 25% with wages increases, while I haven't been able to pass it on to my customers, as my rates are down 4% to 23 and 8% to 2022. As a result, I had to cut back services at the hotel, cutting hours, cutting certain positions, as we're not able to fully meet our mortgage payment, and we are the real loss of actually closing our doors, affecting over 100 jobs, which keeps me up at night. We look forward to continuing this important conversation with you and finding a path forward that supports workers, the local businesses that employ them, and the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marie, and I'm the general manager at Mama Shelter. I respectfully ask that you reject the CLA's recommendations from this deeply flawed report, seek out the information you requested, and work with us to find a solution. I run a small 70-rooms hotel that has a heavy F&B operation, and you need to consider the impacts on the hospitality industry, the small businesses, our employees, and our vendors. If the proposed wage increases were to take effect, businesses like ours have no choice but to reduce services, eliminate positions, or close operations. The ordinance, and yet the analysis fails to consider the scale of losses across the sector and the compromises our industry is willing to make. Thank you.
Yes, that's right. Yes, the voice of sanity is back. Now, look at this. Imelda, you missed us upstairs, Mommy. We just replaced the Board of Public Works Commissioners. Yes. So, what are we doing here? Trying to raise the prices to put more employers out of business at City Hall? Wow. Well, what does the chair care? You could be going up the river there, Price, for up to 4.5 years. Yes, that's right. So I would say this, Imelda. Do you trust current Price in the current situation he's in? I think you should reconsider him being on this committee. What are his real motives? Yes. And what happens when it's $30 an hour? Then you want $50 an hour. Then you want $75 an hour. But I know one thing. I hear current Price's lawyers are getting $800 an hour. Let's give them a hand, everybody. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Next caller, please. Speaker, please.
Hello, thank you. My name's Sister Estella. I would like to pray for the prior speaker and also for the people here. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Glory be to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. And we'll go one more time. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. God bless America, and God bless you. God bless the prior speaker. Thank you for my time.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sandra Pérez, yo he trabajado
Good afternoon, my name is Sandra Pérez. Señorito, un momento, por favor. Señorito, por favor. Acá estoy, míreme. Estoy interpretándole todo lo que me dice, no hay problema. No se preocupe por el tiempo porque ellos paran el tiempo cuando le estoy interpretando. Así que no cuenta contraste.
Ok, ¿me avisa cuando estén?
Sí, más o menos 2 o 3 oraciones.
Ok, gracias.
Ajá, de
Perdón.
nada. Puede empezar de nuevo.
Mi nombre es Sandra Pérez.
My name is Sandra Pérez.
Yo he trabajado en hoteles por agencia.
I've worked at hotels by agency.
Estoy aquí para que voten y limiten agencia.
I'm here to ask that you vote and limit the agencies.
Mi experiencia no fue buena.
My experience wasn't good.
No nos dieron entrenamiento suficiente, aparte no vacaciones, no beneficios de salud.
They didn't give us any training, no benefits for health, and no vacations.
Trabajo recargado, a veces hasta no tomábamos los breaks.
Too much work, and sometimes we didn't even take breaks.
Está bien si votan sí, gracias, por favor.
It would be good if you vote yes, please.
Yes, we can. Sí se puede. Sí se puede.
Next speaker, please. All right, any other, anyone else interested in speaking? Last call? Okay, that will conclude our public comment. Let's ask CLA to join us at the table. And Mr. Reamer, maybe you can join us as well.
Mr. Chair, for the record, item number 1 is a Chief Legislative Analyst report relative to the living.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Testing.
Yes.
Good afternoon, members. Henry Flatt with Office of the Chief Legislative Analyst. At the previous meeting of this committee, our office, along with the Bureau of Contract Administration and City Attorney, answered a number of questions related to how the proposed policy changes evaluated in the Berkeley Economic Advising and Research Impact Analysis would be implemented. As a reminder, the living wage ordinance applies to airport workers, and the hotel minimum wage ordinance only applies to hotels with 60 or more rooms. During that meeting, members of the committee requested additional information from the Tourism Department, BCA, and the current organization that performs the public housekeeping training for the cities of Santa Monica and West Hollywood. As part of this effort to re-engage stakeholders, our office also reached out to the California Hotel and Lodging Association. In a letter to our office, along with some of you, the Alliance for Economic Fairness on September 12th stated that the data used in the BEAR analysis was inaccurate because they estimated the number of impacted hotels at 111. Instead, the letter cites the California Hotel and Lodging Association, which states, quote, "There are 412 hotels in the city of Los Angeles, of which there are 158 with 60-plus rooms." After the meeting last week, our office reached out both via phone and via email to the California Hotel and Lodging Association and requested those data. They have not been provided. Data gathered from audits performed by the BCA includes hours worked from airport workers, but my understanding is that those data need more time to be fully assembled. They have not yet been generated, and they are estimates that have been gathered through the individual level, firm level data. Those data come from workers that have submitted complaints to BCA and are therefore a specific subsample of violations. Our office also reached out to LAWA multiple times, trying to get a handle on the number of hours worked by employees at the airport, but we have not heard back from LAWA. Earlier today, Lane also submitted data that has been forwarded to the consultant for review, and I believe the city attorney thinks those may be sufficient for findings for justifying a higher healthcare benefit payment. The chief tourism officer is skeptical of the study, and although he communicated that he generally believes workers deserve a raise, he simply doesn't buy that the prices will only increase 6%. He communicated to our office that the labor cost increases will lead to service reductions, room rate increases, and housekeeping by request only. Multiple individuals associated with the tourism department also referred our office to a study performed by Oxford Economics Advising Oxford Economics. That study is evaluated in the BEAR Economic Impact Analysis on page 23 of attachment B. The
And
committee,
what did that analysis find?
the Oxford Economics study,
Yes.
this is discussed in the BEAR study. It basically assumes that the amount of revenue, tourism revenue by the city is going to be reduced by about $2 billion. There's also no analysis of how the additional wage increases and earnings will be spent. It also assumes there's going to be a huge disinvestment in the tourism industry from industry stakeholders. I believe, is Bear joining us today? They can speak to that in more detail.
Are they on? Are they available?
Yes, I'm David Roland Holtz. I'm the CEO of Bear. I can speak at any time. Thank you.
We're referring to the study, page 23. We talk about tourism.
Yes.
Attachment B.
Yes.
Could you give us some more detail on that?
Yes, our assessment was that Oxford had grossly overstated and very pessimistically overstated the future of the hotel industry. There's literally no historical data that we could find in the last 50 years that even resembles this kind of adverse cycle. And the hotel industry itself has projected much more optimistic future for the sector. So we're very skeptical about the assumptions made in the study, and we make that clear. I think it's important to read our assessment. I don't want to just try to solve this with sound bites, but we feel that there is unduly pessimistic about the effects on the hotel industry, and it also ignored most of the demand-side benefits of better living standards for hotel and airport workers, which far outweigh the costs in our estimation.
Henry Five of the CLA. The committee also requested additional information regarding the public housekeeping training requirement performed by Santa Monica and West Hollywood. The current organization that performs the training for both cities is called Kirkpatrick Enterprises International, and it's a consultancy firm that provides workplace training to all types of organizations, auto parts manufacturers, candle wax manufacturers, and lighting companies. As part of their role doing the housekeeping training, they usually perform three 2-hour training modules, mostly in Spanish, that inform housekeepers of their workplace rights alongside providing instructions for efficient cleaning techniques and how to identify instances of human trafficking. These modules, what they informed me, can be offered in person or virtually, or we can tailor it to fit the city needs. That is it for me. Thank you.
In our proposal, we are proposing a hardship exemption clause for those concessionaires with 50 or fewer, or for those hotels. Could you tell us how that would work, how one would apply for the exemption?
John Reamer, Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration.
A little closer, please, Mr. Reamer.
It's not on?
You need to come closer.
Oh, how about now? John Reamer, Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration. We serve as the designated administrative agency over the Hotel Worker Protection Ordinance. And we have in that ordinance a means for a request for waiver. And typically what we have is any business that believes that they qualify, and we identify criteria, which will happen here, I'm imagining. They submit the documentation to our office, and then we review it to see whether or not it has merit. Currently, what we do right now is we provide a 1-year exemption, which means that it's not a one and done. Each year you have to reapply because your conditions could change. So that's currently the process.
And what documents generally are required for submission?
I'm sorry?
What documents do you require? What kind of
Well,
documentation
we're
do you
looking at it from a
require?
financial hardship standpoint. So we want to see what you have realized with respect to your earnings, what impact this is going to have on you with respect to if you have to pay a certain wage, what that's going to do with your ability to continue to hit your earning. Are you going to have to lay off any workers because of this, enabling you to stay in business? All of that is presented to us for us to take into consideration. Do you indeed have a hardship? We want to take a look and see, is your vacancy rate going to change? A number of things, because you're not able to service as many clients as you were before. So we ask for all of this information to determine that, yes, you do, or no, we can't see evidence that you do have a hardship.
Okay. Members, any questions? Mr. Soto Martinez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for getting us to this point, and thank you for the public for being incredibly patient as this process has gone on. This motion was moved out in committee in May of last year, and so we're getting close to the finish line. So again, I just want to thank everyone for their patience and to this point. I have a couple of Mr. Flatt, thank you so much for the report on everything that was asked last week. And thank you for presenting it today. I have a little bit of questions regarding the hardship exemption that, for both of them. In this process that you enter with an employer, what are the sort of the remedies that you can offer in that moment? Is it wages? Is it healthcare? Is it all of the above? Is there a certain threshold that you look at? What is it exempting them from the law completely, or are there explain to me a little more of the process?
Oh, most certainly. If we deem that you qualify under a hardship exemption, then you are exempt from the ordinance.
And then
It's an all or nothing.
It's an all or nothing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you have demonstrated to us that you do indeed have an economic hardship, then you are not held to the conditions of the ordinance.
Mm-hmm. Is there how much discretion do you have at that point to say, I actually I don't agree that you should be exempt from the entire ordinance?
Well, when you say how much discretion, we have total discretion in the sense that we're going to be the determinant as to whether or not you have demonstrated to us that you have a hardship.
And the hardship, I saw the way it's written for the hotel worker minimum wage is, they're going to lose either 20% of their workers or the capability to go bankrupt. Now, this is not new to me. I've heard of this, happening in collective bargaining. This happens all the time. And when we have these discussions, we usually require the employer to be very transparent with basically opening their books. Is there a similar process here where
there is?
There is. Okay. Do you feel that the way the law is written right now would not allow for an employer to exploit this, to try to skirt the law, and that it's pretty airtight?
We are, based on our current experience, we've had 2 applications for hardship. One we authorized and they reapplied, and we're going through it. Another one we received, and we're taking a look at it. And our staff doesn't take it lightly. They want to make sure that you do indeed meet the conditions that we identify to warrant a hardship declaration. It's not subjective. It's an objective look based on the information that we receive. And if we can't get the information that we ask for, then I don't want to sound flippant or anything like that, but if you want the hardship, you give us what we ask for. And if you don't give us what we ask for, you will not get the hardship. So it's totally up to the business to comply with whatever documentation we believe we need to receive to determine whether or not they meet the conditions.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I wanted to dig in a little bit more on this because we've heard a lot of testimony from different folks, right, from the industry, stating that they feel like this would be very difficult for them to absorb. But I'm happy to hear that we have a process and it's actually been used, and it sounds like your department has experience to guide those employers through this process, if in fact they are facing extreme hardship that could affect their business as defined in the code. So I hope that and it's unfortunate we haven't discussed this as much as we haven't discussed this much until today, I think. But I want to say that this is the reason why we engage in public testimony, because when we hear these things, we listen. We listen to what folks are saying, and if folks are saying that, then we go back and we ask for the reports and we dig in a little more to see if we're creating the correct policy. And so I'm happy to hear we have that process, that it's been used, that you feel confident in managing this, if this were to happen to any of the folks that are here today. And so thank you so much, Mr. Reamer.
Thank you.
Mr. McCusker.
Thanks very much. Mr. Reamer, this is probably for you as well. So, Mr. Reamer, this is a line of questioning for you. With this ordinance, as it moves forward, should it move forward, you're going to have a lot more work, right?
Yes, sir.
What's the staffing plan for covering this work? Because getting it begins with exemptions, but just getting enforcement right, I'm sure falls back on the need for you to have staffing, and what would you be proposing as we go forward?
So we do understand, and I do appreciate the committee affording us the opportunity to report back on what our anticipated needs would be. What we did not do is assume which way this was going to go. I did appreciate the last session. Council member, I agree with you with respect to the public comment, allowing us to hear those that are in favor and those that have issues with it, because it helps us prepare ourselves for what potentially be coming our way. As it stands right now, the ordinance works under a private right of action from a standpoint of enforcement. And in the report that came from the CLA's office, 2 options were offered: either private right of action or enforcement by the city, which would more than likely be the Office of Wage Standards. That's going to, depending on which way it goes, require different staffing levels. If we're going to be doing the enforcement, then certainly we would need more individuals to address this particular ordinance than if it were a private right of action. If we just left it as a private right of action where anybody could, if they felt that they were, or believed that they were harmed and they weren't compensated properly, they could go through the legal system and file their claim and see how that goes based on the language in our ordinance. But if the enforcement is going to be placed with us, certainly we would need more. So based on the discussions and what the ordinance is going to look like, in our report back, we will identify both as to what the needs potentially will be either way. The ordinance is speaking to a training program with respect to ensuring that workers are properly prepared and educated on working in this environment. And if we are, which I believe we are, going to be administering that, that also is going to require resources. And then lastly, as we already discussed, hardship waivers. I don't want to try to anticipate, but there were a number that businesses that were concerned about the ordinance. And so I would imagine that the number of hardship waiver applications might increase. Currently, as the ordinance sits, those waivers would be going to the city controller. If the ordinance language changes to identify our Office of Wage Standards, they would be coming to us, and that too would require staffing time. So,
Excuse
in
me,
our report,
where does that direct that to the controller? Where is the controller?
the hotel minimum wage ordinance currently. Yes, right. So for the hotel worker protection ordinance, that's with us. But the minimum wage ordinance currently, the hardship waivers right now will be going to the controller.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? Oh, go ahead, if you have something to respond. Responding to my question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Danya Minasian, Deputy City Attorney, just a couple points. The private right of action will remain in the ordinance. There will be an additional enforcement through an administrative hearing process, an administrative investigation. So there will be both options available. Okay. And the current minimum wage ordinance for hotel workers has the controller. However, we are asked in the recommendations that were presented in the council file through the committee chair Price to change that to mirror what is in the hotel worker protection ordinance, which would change it to BCA being the one who administers the waivers.
Okay. Thank you. As a follow-up question, and this might be for the chair, in the proposed recommendations, I mean, it could be for anybody, D would add a hardship exemption clause to the LWO for concessionaires with 50 or fewer employees. What is the, what universe, what percentage of this universe do you suppose is this 50 or fewer? And just a guess. And I'm trying to think about the workload, I'm trying to think about the effect. Do we know? Good question.
Danya Minasian, we'd have to inquire with LAWA because we don't know the universe of 50 or less concessionaires.
Okay, but the intention is that that's intended to be smaller concessionaires?
Yes.
And pardon me for not knowing the answer to this. What is the current cutoff for exemptions in the Hotel Worker Protection Ordinance? What are the parameters for when people, can anybody apply for that hardship exemption?
Anyone can apply under, if we're gonna mirror it after the hotel worker protection, the waiver language is for any hotel can apply as long as they meet the criteria.
So right now, in the current statutory structure, local ordinance structure, it's any hotel, and you've had 2 applications?
2.
2, which is very small, right?
One could say. It's
One could say.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Padilla.
I kind of wanted to follow up on something that I brought up at the last committee, and it might be the same question as we unpackage. Can you remind us what this public housekeeping training ordinance would potentially cost the employer?
Henry Flat CLA, in the report, it is estimated that it would cost $620,000 spread across 111 hotels. So it's about $6,000 per hotel. And that training will only need to be provided once every 5 years.
Once every 5 years. And I think you mentioned a little bit about this. This would be a training that is off-site from the employer location, correct?
It could be, but based on, because we haven't designed the policy yet, we could tailor it differently. We could have it be a virtual training. We could have it be on-site. It's whatever the council would choose to do.
So whether it be virtual or off-site, have we determined the types of costs that would be associated, whether we make the ordinance that it at minimum be virtual, or if they're gonna have to require their workers to go somewhere off-site? Employers, I'm assuming, will have to have the type of insurance that would cover their workers from point A and point B. And my question is, how much do we think that would cost for this training?
I don't think we have an estimate for that, simply because the curriculum hasn't even been developed. We haven't sought an RFP yet to even select a vendor. This is something that's new. Only 2 other cities have one in place, and so it would be very difficult.
Sharon, excuse me, which other cities are doing it currently?
Pardon?
Which other cities?
Long Beach and Santa Monica?
Santa Monica and West Hollywood.
West Hollywood, thank you.
And how does theirs happen? Is it virtual or is it off-site? Are people driving out for this training?
It's a mix. Some of it is virtual, some of it is on-site. So a lot of these hotels have big conference rooms, and so the training is conducted there.
Okay.
So it's people traveling to their normal place of work, and then rather than working for 2 hours of the day, 3 days in 1 week, they do the training instead. And the hotel is responsible for paying for that training.
Correct, but do we know, okay, so do we know if these 2 cities are doing them virtual, or are they requiring their workers to drive off-site?
They do a mix. So they offer workers a virtual option, and a lot of the training is also offered on-site.
Okay, then my next question is, has it been an obstacle for workers to take it online, assuming that maybe not every worker has the ability to, log on?
My understanding that it has not been a huge obstacle to the training is the online format, because then it can be offered on-site in a lot of these places where people can come in their normal course of business, normal course of work, and get the training there. So training accessibility doesn't seem to have been an issue in either of the cities that I spoke with.
Okay, and so then what does constitute a moment when they want to go, where they will go off-site?
You said what?
So when are the moments when they do go off-site?
When do they go off-site?
Yeah.
For the training?
Do they go off-site because there isn't an online option? Do they go off-site because they have to do it in person due to the fact that maybe they weren't able to log on due to, you know, a digital divide of some sort?
So what I was, just to clarify, what I was saying was that it could be on-site or virtually. I never said off-site. So I'm not familiar with the training being conducted off-site. On-site meaning their normal course of work.
Yeah, their place of work, right?
So I'm not familiar with them ever going off-site for the training, at least not from what I could tell from the
So the
materials
vendor
that was-
goes to the work site and then provides the training there?
Yeah,
That's how it's happening in Santa Monica and West Hollywood?
correct.
Because that's not how I was told that this training was going to be, you know, solidified, that it would be a training that is off-site and away from the employer. And the reason why I ask these questions is because if we use the power of the ordinance to ask employers to force their workers to go to a training off-site, we're putting the employer in a position where they now have to wonder who's in charge or who would cover a potential accident happening from point A to point B. Because to me, that's an additional cost.
Sure, and the city could then tailor the policy in a way where that wasn't a factor, either required to be done virtually or on-site only.
I think you're absolutely right that if employees, it would be like with the city, right? If you have a city employee that is required to report to an off-site location to either do work or do training, there would be additional liability costs, transportation costs that may be associated with it. So if, to the extent that a public housekeeping ordinance component requires off-site training, then yes, there will be definitely an added cost, potential added cost to the employers. If the public housekeeping component could be done on-site, for example, at the hotel during the normal business hours where they can use like the ballroom of the hotel or some other place, then those additional costs could be limited. But again, you know, that curriculum hasn't been designed yet here in LA, since we don't have that requirement today.
Well, I bring this up because I think that as we draft this, we need to have more research related to what true cost would be before we draft or mandate something. I don't think I could support something without knowing the true cost. And then I have one question related to the interest to the health care benefit payment. You know, from the very beginning, I've always asked myself why the meshing between the airport workers and the hotel workers, given that one is private sector and yet one works out of city facilities jurisdictions. So my question with that in mind is, how common is it for local jurisdictions to use the power of the ordinance to ask private sector employees what to do with healthcare benefits? As we're proposing here with the hotel workers.
Correct. So based on the information that I've gathered, West Hollywood and Santa Monica both have hotel minimum wages that they passed through an ordinance, but there is no health care benefit included. The only city in California with a health care benefit payment is Oakland, and that was done through ballot initiative.
Who?
Oakland.
So we would be the first city in California to make an ordinance asking the private sector to do a bare minimum for health care benefits.
For hotels, correct. I believe so.
Oakland has a healthcare component, so we're not the first. Oakland already has one.
No, that was done through ballot initiative.
But through the ballot, right? Not through the ordinance. So people voted for that. It wasn't required
Yes, correct.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McCosker, back to you.
Thanks.
If you had a question.
This goes to the minimum wage ordinance, the existing ordinance. Just have a question. In fact, in doing the research and looking at this, and I hadn't thought about this section for a while, but section 187.11 requires reports, that every 3 years after 2016, we were going to do a study to review the state of the city's economy and the effects of the minimum wage impacts. Are those something that exists, that we have a couple versions of? Because it lists out all the different areas that may be impacted, includes a lot of hospitality.
We did secure a study. It had not been released. It was primarily due to all of the COVID time. It was due right around COVID.
Okay.
And so at that time, it didn't make sense to try to get a report out that actually a lot of the information had changed so much because there were a lot of other minimum wages that increased all over. So it kind of made it difficult to assess the direct impact of ours. And so we will release the report. It's in its final form. We have the report done. It just didn't make sense to release it yet at this time. But it will be coming out, we assure you. But really, again, it's primarily because there have been so many other wage increases that it was really difficult to isolate what was happening in LA as a result of the city minimum wage, because everybody else has increased their wages since that time.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Soto Martinez. No, go ahead. Why don't you start? Take it.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I know you uploaded this on the file earlier today. I think to me it looks great. I do want to offer a friendly amendment on number 3, is just to instruct to report back within 60 days on limiting subcontracting. So just try to put a little timeline on that for 60 days. 60.
Well, again, let me just thank, first of all, the public, members from the union, members from the business community who provided input on this, certainly my colleagues, professionals, staff that we had looking at this matter. It's certainly something that is of importance. We know it's some urgency, but we do want to get it right. And so I just appreciate the time, the input. This is not the end of the road. It's an important milestone in this road. But I will accept that amendment to 3 as a friendly amendment and entertain a motion that we approve items. Oh, all right. Let me proceed to read the motion. 1, that requests the city attorney to prepare a revised LWO and HWMO that A, raises the hourly wage as follows. 1, $25 an hour on February the 1st, 2025, or upon the effective date of the ordinance, whichever comes later. 2, $26.25 an hour on July 1, 2025. 3, $27.50 an hour on July 1, 2026. 4, $28.75 an hour on July 1, 2027. And 5, $30 an hour on July 1, 2028. 1B, provides a health payment of $8.35 an hour plus the annual increase as determined below by recommendation 1C on July 1, 2025. The DAA shall announce the amount on April 1st, 2025. C, on July 1st, 2026, and annually thereafter, the health care benefit payment provided shall be adjusted by the percentage equal to the percentage increase, if any, in the California Department of Mortgage Health Care Large Group Aggregate Rates Report, as measured from January to December of the preceding year. The DAA shall announce the adjusted rates on April the 1st and publish a bulletin announcing the adjusted rates, which shall take effect on July 1st of each year. D, adds a hardship exemption clause to the LWO for concessionaires with 50 or fewer employees and to the HWMO, similar to the Hotel Worker Protection Ordinance, LAMC 182.04B and C. Item 2, approve the CLA report recommendations 1C, 2C, 2E, 2F, 2G, and 3. Item 3, instruct the CLA with the assistance of the city attorney to report back in 60 days on limiting subcontracting for hotel housekeeping, including collecting data for findings and information on the new New York policy proposal. Request the city attorney to draft an ordinance based on the report. Item 4, request LAWA to report back in 45 days with recommendations for rental subsidies or other business assistance programs for concessionaires at the airport. And 5, instruct BCA and request the city attorney to report back in 45 days with regard to the necessary personnel and budgetary resources to enforce the LWO and HWMO.
And do we have a second, Mr. Chair?
I'll second that.
Mr. McCosker?
I have a couple of requests. One's very technical and small. In 5, I appreciate you put 45 days on that. Can you add the CAO? You had asked BCA and the city attorney to report back in 45 days. I think the CAO is going to be important here, because especially with our hiring freeze. That'd be all right? And then
That's correct.
2, I have a question that goes back to the questions I asked of Mr. Reamer. On D, if we don't have any restriction on the number of employees for the Hotel Worker Protection Ordinance, is it necessary for you to put this concessionaires with 50 or fewer employees? Why, if it's going to be parallel to the hotel workers, why wouldn't it be parallel? That's a bigger substantive question. That's a bigger policy question. If you're really going after, if you're looking for a parallel, it seems like they can, you apply or don't apply, it doesn't matter how many employees you have.
Sure, I think I can, well, I'll just sort of take a stab at it. I think there's two very different industries. I think one way to measure the size of a hotel is very adequately by rooms, and I think a way to measure the business of a concessionaire is by people. There are no rooms, and so I think that's the rationale behind it.
Okay. Yeah, we're just asking for parallel. I mean, I don't feel strongly about it, I just want to know what the thought was.
So do you want to report back? Do you want to?
No, just asking you a question.
Okay. All right, any other discussion about the motion?
I want to take a separate vote on the one that you proposed, Mr. Price, 2C. Well, from 2, the 2C and 2E from the original CLA report, given that we have, I'd like to know more information about what our jurisdiction is related to making healthcare decisions for private sector workers. And number 3, because we don't know the true cost of what this training is going to impose on employers. So I was hoping we could separate that for a separate vote.
You want a separate vote on that?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Chair, for clarification, this is regarding the healthcare component, correct?
Yeah, so it would be from what Mr. Price read, requested 2C and 2E to just be one clump.
So for clarification, and looking at Mr. Price's, what he was reading from, the separate vote would actually be on 1B as a boy.
Correct, because it's pretty much the same thing, yes.
And also 2C from the CLA report, which
Correct.
is listed in number 2. So it'd be those 2
And
items.
3.
And 3?
3 is from CLA, but listed
would be
on
the public
2.
housekeeping, yes.
All right, so we got a separate vote on 3 and 2.
So, Mr. Price, so the councilwoman is asking for a separate vote on 1B of your transmittal, on number 2C, which is listed in number 2 of your transmittal, and number 3 from your transmittal. Correct?
Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I just ask, so
Yeah,
just, we're
well,
saying-
Councilwoman Hurd. It's also it's 3 on your transmittal of the CLA report.
It's both.
Yeah, it's 3 on both.
okay, Councilwoman Padilla is asking for 1B, 2C, and 3 to bifurcate that?
Correct.
Okay, well, I will object to that. I think we've done a lot of work on this, and I do want to vote on the way it's presented by Councilmember Price.
Well, I mean, none of my questions were answered. So I'm asking for a separate vote.
She wants to vote no on it. All right, any other discussion?
So to confirm, Mr. Chair, are we holding a separate vote for recommendations 1B from your recommendations, and then 2C and 3, where we'd be holding a separate vote to approve those items?
Okay, we're still confirming. See if we get this straight here.
And then afterwards, we could vote on the other recommendations as a whole.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, but I am going to object to that. I don't want the separate vote. I would like for us to take the whole vote. And so we can, if we can.
All right, we're going to we'll take this matter up. Let's take a vote on the
I'm trying to not be a no on the majority of this.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
it's pretty common for us to do separate votes. I appreciate the sort of the strength of saying let's make it all up or nothing, but sort of in the spirit of getting folks to places where they can vote yes on some things and no on some things, it seems to be a common courtesy. And I don't know that it's going to affect where we come out in the end, but I think it is important to give our members the opportunity to separate votes.
I agree. All right, so let's proceed. Let's take a vote on, I guess, each item separately then.
Mr. Chair, if you'd like, we can vote on approving recommendation 1B from your recommendations, as well as 2C and 3.
Okay,
2C being from the CLA report, and then 3 being in your recommendations, as well as the CLA report.
Okay, we'll pull those.
Would you like me to call the roll?
Yes, please.
Why don't we stick
hold
to
on.
the transmittal, which would be, we can vote on 1A, 1 through 5 of the his transmittal, as well as C and D.
This was just confirming you wanted a separate vote for the other 3 recommendations, so we would be doing...
Correct.
Yeah, so we would be voting that first, and then the rest afterwards.
Got it.
All right. Let's call that.
Councilmember Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky.
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla.
No.
Councilmember McOsker.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 no. These recommendations are approved. And now we would vote on the rest of your recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Correct.
Councilmember Price.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky.
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla.
Yes.
Councilmember McOsker.
Yes.
5 ayes, and these items are approved as amended.
Okay, well, thank you, members. I think we've made an important step. It's not the only step, it's an important step. And again, I want to thank the CLA and BCA and everyone for their help, the consultants, I don't know if you're still around. And of course, input from my colleagues, and most importantly, from the public. Again, we appreciate your comments, your ideas, your suggestions as we move forward, and we look forward to continuing the progress that's going to distinguish our community forward. Thank you.
And would you like to adjourn, Mr. Chair? We are adjourned.